Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at the 2006 remake of Black Christmas, sometimes marketed as Black Xmas to show how X-core it is. The remake follows loosely the plot of the original, but adds a ton of backstory to Billy the Killer. Flashbacks take up a good chunk of runtime and change Billy from a completely random killer to the stuff of local legend. I'll admit that the first time I watched this movie, I kinda liked it because of how batshit insane it gets, but the more I watch it, the more off-putting it is to me. It's full of cheap references to the original, needlessly lifted without nearly as much thought or care, and the characters are all shallow and match the whole movie's tone of being nasty and mean. But hey, at least nasty and mean in this case also includes some crazy freaking gore, man. If you're into it, get ready, but for everyone else, be forewarned. This movie's got some of the nastiest shit I've ever talked about on the Kill Count, and it's not only the gore I'm talking about. You ready? Alright, let's get to the kills. The movie begins at the sorority house of Delta Alpha Kappa. That's not fun to say. People be doing the Christmas thing, like Claire, who's writing a letter to her sister with her writing partner, Cabernet. She doesn't see blonde ring girl hanging out under her bed, and it's too late by the time she notices her calligraphy pen missing. She gets a bag over her head, and after a short struggle with the killer, a follow-up pen to the dome gives us our first kill, a mere 2 minutes in. Title card. At an institute for the criminally insane, a children's ward Santa gets lost and winds up in a wing with residents that are more naughty and less nice, like Billy Lenz, who the Santa recognizes by name. Billy's apparently a famous boy, because Santa Man seems to know everything about him.
His mom kept him locked in the basement his whole life.
The attic.
Well, almost everything. Later on, the security guard gets a note from Billy and goes inside his room to check on him. They probably shouldn't have let Billy decorate his room like a Krampus-themed haunted house, but they did. So as the guard checks on a hole in the wall, Billy's able to come up behind him and stick a candy cane in his neck. Billy leaves the security guard shaking from his wound, but I'll put him on the list. Despite there being a decent chance he'd get appropriate medical care in time. Let's jump back to Delta Alpha Kappa and go through the meat that'll soon be dead. First up is Kelly, played by Katie Cassidy of every DC show ever. She's telling her boyfriend Kyle that she's got to spend the holiday night with her sorority sisters instead of him. After she leaves the car, he gets a call and it's from Megan, another sorority sister. Doesn't look like she's just calling to wish him a Merry Christmas. Downstairs, the rest of the girls are hanging out. They're all pretty stereotypical mean girls, you'll probably recognize like the entire cast. Ms. Mac is the only main character who's back, and she's played by Andrea Mitchell, who was Phil in the original. Kelly goes upstairs to rally more girls for present opening and successfully flushes out Lauren, played by Scream Queen Crystal Lowe, who's the closest thing to a Barb we get in this movie. They're not so successful recruiting Megan, the chick who was all pissed off on the phone with Kyle. She's a bit too preoccupied for presents, dealing with some footage of her and Lauren's boyfriend having sex. And by dealing with, I mean just kind of watching, because she sits there and does that for a while. What's up, girl? Checking your form on the replay or something? She pauses it when she hears a noise above her ceiling and follows it into the hallway and to the attic door. By the way, who decorates the inside of their house with blinking Christmas lights? Trying to give yourself a headache? Megan goes into the attic and finds Claire's body sitting in its favorite window chair, but before she even realizes that's a corpse, she gets bagged around the head. The killer stabs her repeatedly, but that's not enough for this movie. The killer pins her to the floor and, seriously yo, look away if you're squeamish, frickin' digs into her eye sockets and yanks those babies out, root and stem. And if eye stuff bothers you, you might want to skip this video. This movie's full of it. Meanwhile, Basement Grade Santa has finished up his rounds and is now looking to get his candy cane wet with this nurse. But before he can try out that new joke he's been workshopping, where he calls himself Old Saint Dick, Billy appears behind him and we hear a big thwack off screen, then see blood splatter all over the floor. Billy later dons the Santa suit in a possible reference to Billy Chapman and dumps the Santa dude's body into the dumpster. At Delta Alpha Kappa, Ms. Mac is trying to get the girls invested in the house tradition where they leave a gift for Billy under the tree. But Heather, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, isn't comfortable getting a gift for a serial killer. Melissa, played by Michelle Trachtenberg, drinks wine and tries to be pedantic.
Serial killers murder repeatedly for sexual thrill.
No, that's not what a serial killer is. Dana, the other girl there, played by Lacey Chabert, would rather deliver very drawn-out jokes.
I'd like to bury the hatchet with my sister.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Right in her head.
Good job there, expert comedic timing. To get everyone in the proper mood for the house's weird serial killer traditions, Ms. Mac kicks off a flashback to tell the story of Billy Lenz, who grew up at the house the sorority now calls home. Billy was born in 1970 with jaundice, which in this world apparently leaves you looking like a Sin City monster. His dad Frank doesn't seem too bothered by it, but Mama Constance just loathes the hell out of both Billy and Frank for whatever reason. 5 years later, in 1975, Billy gets a gift from Santa, but while he's unwrapping his new telescope, we hear his parents arguing and another man, Constance's lover, show up and start a fight. Billy peeks under a wall to witness the end of that little dust-up, his dad on the ground bleeding. They bag his head and, as Billy watches, beat Frank a ton of times with a hammer, murdering him right in front of his son's eyes. The partners in crime later hide Frank's body in the crawl space under the porch because this movie is obsessed with those in-between places. And after Constance sees Billy peeping in on them, they kind of chase him into the attic, which is alright by Constance because she just locks him inside. And flashback. In the present, Kelly gets a phone call and puts it on speakerphone for the rest of the girls to hear. It's not nearly as deranged or creepy as the calls from the first one.
Billy, what have you done? What have you done?
And in this remake, the ladies are unfamiliar with their personal crank anchor, but it still upsets Heather enough to want to call the police. Reasonable enough, but for some reason, Lauren mocks her for the idea, so Heather storms off to go pack for home. She's cut off at the stairs by Eve, who we're, just now meeting, I guess? She's supposed to be some super weird character, but she just gives Heather a gift, the glass unicorn from the first one, because reference, and wishes everybody a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, what a fucking weirdo. Another flashback, set in 1982 this time, shows Constance getting her rocks off at the top of the stairs. Well, almost anyway. Her lover falls asleep on the job, and when she hears noises from the attic, we get something nobody wants to see. Constance goes into the attic and steps in front of her 12-year-old son, and then she rapes him. This is super fucked up in like so many ways, but at least it's not being played for laughs, I guess? Still, it gets even more crazy when it cuts to 9 months later and Billy has a new sister daughter. Constance names her Agnes and tells the ceiling that she don't need her attic son anymore.
She's my family now.
We cut from Agnes in the past back to Eve in the present, which I guess is supposed to make you think they're one and the same. But spoiler, they're not. The phone rings again, and it's another quote-unquote creepy call that just has a regular sounding dude repeating dialogue the girl said earlier.
I'm going to bury the hatchet in your head.
The caller ID said it was from Megan's cell, so Katie braves the green and red blinking torture hallway to check on Megan in her room. When she gets there though, Kyle pops out. That's really fucking suspicious, dude. Turns out he had climbed into Megan's window to try to get rid of that doggy style video on her computer. He gives some bullshit excuse about wanting to see Kelly, blah blah blah, whatever man. Let's just get to the next flashback, which Kyle tells the sorority girls since he's a townie who grew up under the legend of Lens. It's 1991, which means Billy can legally drink now, but instead his idea of a good time is spying on happier families with his new telescope. Downstairs, his 8-year-old sister-daughter Agnes is opening presents, but Constance unwisely leaves the room to go light a cig on the stove, and we see that Billy is actually in the living room pulling a Sean Spicer. The kitchen phone rings, and when Constance answers it, Billy's on the other end using her own words against her.
My family now.
Sure enough, Agnes is missing from the living room, but here's some shit that don't make sense. Constance and her man toy pop up into the attic to yell at Billy, but nobody's there. And instead, Billy and Agnes are back by the tree again. A lot of spatial logic in this movie doesn't really hold up to scrutiny. Billy beats Agnes with a bag over her head, and then, ready for super gross times again, eats her freaking eyeball. Billy's not dad runs over to him, only to get stabbed through the head with an ornament. His eye comes out the back, even though there's no way it would have made it through the skull intact like that. But fuck it, this film's got a motif, and damn if they don't hit on it every 5 minutes. Billy then turns to his mommy Dearest, strangling her with the lights and dragging her into the kitchen, where he grabs a rolling pin and beats her to death with it. And he just wails on her for like a really long time, man. This movie loves overindulging when it comes to stabbing and beating. Then to go way over the top, he grabs a cookie cutter and starts carving out pieces of her skin. God damn! He takes after NBC's Hannibal and actually cooks the flesh too. So later, when the cops show up, they find him at the kitchen table, calmly eating his mother's flesh cookies with some milk. Ugh. Billy was institutionalized, and Agnes, missing her eye, was sent to an orphanage. Nobody has seen her since. Kyle finishes his story, and the girls get distracted when they hear someone come through the front door. Who dat be? It be Lee, Claire's Bond girl looking sister, who's come to the house after not hearing from Claire all night. The other sisters and Ms. Mac are skeptical of Lee's sudden appearance, but she's able to convince them she's a true sister by knowing about the Billy gift tradition. She does note an apparent change, however.
Oh, this is new. It's not for Billy, it's for Alpha Kappa from Billy.
They open the present, and it's a telescope box with a baby doll inside. The doll is missing its eyes because, do you get it yet? Eyes! Then Lauren projectile vomits, so the girls take her upstairs so she can just get it all out, sweetie. It's okay. You'll feel better tomorrow. When the power goes out and finally ends the blinking light torture hallway, Megan's laptop switches to battery power, and so Kelly winds up seeing Kyle's star turn on the screen. She gets real pissed at him, even though he claims it was before they were together and that he's not the one who put it online. Their boring, totally irrelevant argument becomes public when it spills out into the hallway, and the other girls unite in kicking Kyle to the curb. Mel starts a shower so Lauren can wash the puke and regret off herself, and as she undresses, she uncovers an unlikely peephole under the floor. Look at the weird way this eye is edited into that shot. And what kind of angle would you even have from that hole? You'd just be looking at ceiling. Oh no, you'd have a perfect Porky-style angle on this bathing beauty? Okay, whatever. Mel finishes up her mom-like treatment and puts Lauren to bed. After Lee and Dana fail to get the lights working with the circuit breaker, Dana says she'll go out to the main fuse box underneath the house. But when she checks out the crawl space under the porch, her face gets grabbed and she's pulled inside. She has a short grapple with the killer that ends when they grab a gardening tool that they use to stab Dana in the shoulder and then the back. It's a little bit confusing since they're both wearing the same outfit, but you know what? Now we don't have to to worry about that because Dana's dead. Yay! The killer calls from Dana's phone and makes some spooky noises.
She's my family now.
So the other girls run outside to see where Dana is. They see that Eve's car is still there, and when Heather opens the door, Eve's head falls out, confirming that character served virtually no purpose in this movie aside from being a red herring. They run back inside to the perceived safety of the sorority living room, and although Kelly is able to get through to 911, they say the snowstorm has really effed up those roads, so it would take them like 2 hours to get there. Hey, where are their taxes going exactly, police department? Ms. Mac decides that Billy is the killer.
He's home.
Tells everyone to get their stuff because it's time to peace out. But Melissa doesn't want to leave Lauren, Lee's not ready to give up on Claire, and Kelly says it's safer to stick together inside the house. The lines are drawn and neither side wants to give, so Ms. Mac and Heather decide to head out, saying they'll send help ASAP. Man, I hate what this choice does to Ms. Mac's character. The two of them get into the car alright, but when Heather doesn't know what a snow brush is, Ms. Mac paddywhack throws the girl a bone and gets out to de-winterize the windshield herself. The car starts a-rockin' and a yellow eye peeks through a gap in the snow. Then all of a sudden, a big loud blood blast signifies Heather's been killed. Kinda weird seeing Mary Elizabeth Winstead in such a sideline role when nowadays she'd almost definitely be the final girl of this film. Ms. Mac is shocked enough to stumble backwards and knock an icicle off the garage that falls and kills her. Wait, what? Accidental deaths like this aren't unprecedented in slasher flicks, but it still feels like a kill that isn't quite earned, you know? The other girls get concerned when they see the car hasn't left yet, so Lee and Kelly go to check it out. Melissa is left alone, which proves to be fatal when she gets a patented plastic bag over her head from our long-haired killer. She's able to get out of that one and tries to escape out a window instead of going downstairs? Okay. But the killer follows her into the room and, after eyeing a pair of ice skates within reach, picks him up and chucks him at the back of Mel's head, freaking scalping her for a pretty solid kill. We're just run through these victims like hot butter at this point, kids. Might as well move on to the next one then, which is obviously going to be the passed out Lauren. Before she meets her fate though, things get real uncomfortable for everyone, with a molestation scene that goes on for way too long. Lauren wakes up, as grossed out as the audience is watching this, and grabs the glass unicorn to use as a weapon. But she misses, and instead she gets choked against the bed and stabbed in the head just once with the glass unicorn, her kill serving as one final weak shadow of Margot Kidder's barb. Kelly and Lee are in Lauren's room when Kyle busts in, and he and Lee get into a fight. When Lee is thrown against the bed, it reveals Lauren's eyeless body to everyone. Eyeballs! More eyeballs! Kelly vouches for Kyle's innocence by pointing out that when she calls Claire's cell phone, its ringtone answers from the ceiling? I seriously don't understand what we're looking at here, or how we're seeing the phone's light. So if anyone wants to explain it to me, feel free to do so in the comments. Then we see the phone up there make a call, and Kelly answers. Bet you can't guess what Billy says.
She's my family now.
And by the way, if you haven't figured it out yet, both Billy and Agnes are the killers in this one. Billy having come from the institute he broke out of, and Agnes having been in the attic the whole time. Kyle wants to get out of the house while they still can, but Lee still refuses to give up on Claire, so they decide to go into the attic to see what they can do on that whole missing sister front. Kyle volunteers to go up first, and his chivalry gets him bagged and dragged into the attic. He tries to crawl away from Agnes, but she just walks up and stabs him in the head. Damn, did this movie do the suspicious boyfriend thing so much worse than the original. Kelly and Lee attack Agnes, since they're now also in the attic, and in the exact same move they did with Lauren's body a few minutes earlier, Lee looks up to find that her sister is a confirmed fatality. Then the girls watch as Agnes rips out Kyle's eyes.
He's my family now.
And follows up with the Lens tradition of chomping down on that eyeball. Lee falls through the floor, because attics are not meant to be party centers, y'all, and as Kelly tries to help her up, or down, just pick a direction, lady, Agnes gets real festive and starts lighting candles that show off her decoration skills. Oh, the eyes are ornaments. That's what they're there for? Wait a minute, then what was with that little snack you had a minute ago? We don't eat ornaments, Agnes. Lee finishes falling through the floor, and when Agnes bags Kelly and tries to stab her to death, she instead only succeeds in starting a fire in the attic. Kelly defends herself by grabbing a long tong and stabbing Agnes in the eye with it, because it's the only goddamn trick this movie has. Starting to become desensitized to it. Then Agnes, who kind of looks and sounds like a Fred Armisen character, tells Kelly the good news.
My daddy's here.
Well, that's gross to hear, but she ain't lying. Billy's here. He climbs up into the attic as Agnes wraps some Christmas lights around Kelly. There's a big cluster cuss that ends with Kelly and Agnes both sliding down the space behind the wall, dragging those Christmas lights too that are tangled up in a whole bunch of shit. Crawl spaces and eyeballs, folks. That's what this movie is. Agnes falls all the way down, and Billy begins to descend, coming after Kelly. But Lee is able to bust a hole through the wall with a dumbbell and pull Kelly safely into the laundry room. The now flaming tangle finally falls down the wall, leaving the lenses in a literal hellhole that the girls fuel further with some paint thinner. They lock the door of the laundry room behind them and escape through the front door of the house. And this movie's finally over. Wait, it's not? How many more eyeballs we gotta squish here, people? At the hospital, a morgue assistant is pissy that he's working on Christmas. He should probably be pissy that the bodies in his charge aren't actually dead, as Billy proves when he pops up out of his bag. He grabs a bone saw, and as the morgue dude is all like, "No, please don't," Billy kills him with it off screen. screen. Just a classic little slasher bonus kill here, folks. The hospital is full of more stupid spatial logic holes. First, Lee and Kelly are together in Kelly's room. A nurse comes in and takes Kelly to get more x-rays, so Lee is left in the room alone, but then she goes out into the hallway. Then she fucking comes back into the room where Agnes is sleeping in the bed, pretending to be Kelly. It's dumb and unlikely, and is just there to kill Lee, whose death is short and not so sweet, with Agnes whispering forever to her, then snapping her neck. Yep, that's it. Just the neck snap. We cut to Kelly getting back into her bed, which again doesn't make a lot of sense to me when you think about where the bodies should be and shit. And now the door of the hospital room is faulty all of a sudden.
They were supposed to have someone fix this.
Hey, just like in the original. Kelly senses that danger is near. The blood pooling in the light fixture is usually a dead giveaway, so she charges up the defibrillators in preparation. When Agnes drops down and attacks her from behind, Kelly's able to clear her way to the end of this movie by putting those shock paddles right on Agnes's face. We've seen kills like this on the kill count before, and I've gotta say, this is the weakest execution of it. I want boiling skin, son. Now Billy drops from the ceiling, but Kelly busts out the door window and escapes into the hallway. Billy gives chase, only to get blindsided by a crutch to the face. Points Kelly, but then Billy uses the crutch to trip Kelly to the ground and ties the match up again. Billy takes the lead with a scalpel to the back, but Kelly is the ultimate victor when she tosses Billy down a few stories to get impaled through the top of a Christmas tree. In the movie's first and only effective use of blinking lights, we see his body shadow on the ceiling over Kelly as she looks down at the dead-ass lens boy below. And with that, the movie is finally over. Oh, fuck, I'm supposed to have something funny for like the walkaway here. Hey, look, I'm Billy Lenz. Does that work? Cool, let's get to the numbers. 18 people died in the Black Christmas remake, which is 11 more than in the original. Not bad. The victims included 7 men and 11 women, giving us more female than male victims again, just like the original. At a runtime of 92 minutes, that comes out to a kill, on average, about every 5 minutes. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to Melissa. It's super quick, but I think it's pretty creative. Having some ice skates take a little too much off the top. Dull machete for lamest kill will go to Lee, whose unlikely neck snap was super weak sauce. And that's it. The Black Christmas remake came out in 2006, and it feels like most people forgot about it pretty quickly. Oh well. Next week is the last kill count of the year with New Year's Evil, and until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been the Kill Count. Thanks a lot for watching my kill count for the Black Christmas remake. I want to thank some of my patrons like Austin Storr, Dylan Connors, and Julia Faith. Hey, what if there was another kill count between this one and New Year's Evil? Wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that be cool? Especially if it was like Christmas themed? Especially if it was like a movie that everyone's always requesting? Especially if it was a movie made by the same guy who did Trick or Treat? Wouldn't that be awesome? Check your feeds tomorrow, motherfuckers.